I would go back to maybe something we talked about earlier in terms of advice is really focus on adoption. How do we get people to use the tech? You can worry about the pricing and the marketing, and let's get people really getting productivity from the technology that we're building. And then I think the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. So really focus on the end user and their job and how they kind of use tech and solve some problems. And if solve those problems, then I think the rest of it falls in kind of in place.
Product market fit is key component for sure.
But deeper than that, like, really how the people, like you said, all the coordination on a project, and how does the MEP person in the field have a sensor, and how do they check the work in progress and those things. I mean, how do we really get the guys in the field and in the office kind of really using this to add value?
Welcome to Plus Partners, where we dig into the stories behind successes. I am Kevin Burke from Burke Plus, and we help businesses with growing their businesses, increasing their revenue, and we leverage the latest AI tools and creative vision to do that. If you want to hear more about that, just drop a note in the messages and I'll get back to you. We have a pretty cool guest today, Dexter Bachelder. Dex.
Hey, Kevin.
I've had the pleasure of knowing Dex for a long time, raising our boys in the town and fields of our hometown Marblehead, and it's great to have you on an episode. So, what do you got? Nice to see you, Dex. You're a perfect fit for this. So, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It's great to even speak to you on a personal level, and we had a lot of successful youth soccer teams in our day. But
That's right.
turns out coincidence that we both kind of been in the construction tech and property tech space. I've been in for 27 years. I feel like a really old guy. A younger colleague told me I was a pioneer in the industry. So I felt very old when they told me that. But I'm a venture leader of a company called Propel People, which is part of 1848 Ventures, which is a venture studio. So they develop and incubate ideas and then take them to market. And I'm helping take Propel People, which is an AI-based recruiting tool for the construction industry. We're taking that to market now. So I'm really excited to chit chat, tell you a little bit about what I've seen in my long journey and a couple of things that I think are going to happen over the next few years.
Sweet. I'll prompt you to maybe take us back before you got into the construction tech space and how you ended up finding it.
Yeah. So I was working for a company called Service Point. It was a Reaper graphics company. So back in the day, we used to print all the blueprints and CAD drawing, and the writing team. Like we were gonna, PDFs were gonna come along and document management systems and all these different kind of construction systems. And so we were really forward thinking. We started to invest in some of the .com businesses. We looked at digital tools to help us kind of navigate that. We went off and did acquisitions. We did strategic investments. So, and I really led the charge to move it from a paper-based to a digital-based, back in like 98, 2000, really early days, FTPs and PDFs and all those kinds of things. And, but really seeing the industry grow from there.
Very cool. And so getting through the sort of transformation to digital, was there any specific trigger that got you over to the construction side, or like what kind of led you into that, just kind of by exposure or by interest?
Yeah, I think, it's been a great industry. Construction tech has been a great place to be for my career for the last kind of 27 years. And, was always considered a laggard and, a late adopter of technology, but there was a big opportunity because it's such a fragmented industry. It was, a little bit dated, but there was a great opportunity to kind of really transform and digitize the industry. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of, some people have been successful doing it, some people haven't, but, it's been kind of a slow process, but I think we're really starting to leapfrog. The industry is really starting to leapfrog with all these kind of enabling technologies. So, the latest one is kind of AI, but we had things like BIM, which kind of really changed the market, mobile. So people had, iPads and iPhones out in the field at sites where really we're looking for the biggest kind of productivity gains. And then just the whole kind of web and SaaS and things like that. So there was an opportunity around the emerging tech. It was also an emerging opportunity to kind of change the way that these construction firms did business. manage projects.
Yeah, I always felt like, on the design side, we were using tech obviously to create drawings, to design things, whether they were working with architects, with buildings, working with GCs, sort of doing the drawings and stuff. But it was a very long time before it kind of moved away from a big table in the middle of a construction site with all the latest drawings, and everything that delivering right to the site. Um, Construction, despite maybe despite that use of paper, I did kind of feel like they were one of the first ones in the whole design development space to really just go 100% digital. That BIM work was pretty great. It was the big coordinating element to kind of bring all the trades together onto one platform. Um, we've come a long way as old guys going from paper to this. And how do you think that the latest tech, and you mentioned AI as one of them, is starting to have an impact in improving the stuff that's actually going on out at the site and that before it even gets to the site?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in the early days, and there are a lot of AI solutions out there. But I think one of the biggest challenges in Propel People is kind of helping them help solve this problem is just the labor shortage. The lack of labor in the construction industry, skilled labor particularly. Um, we need more people to join the industry, but if we can get more people to join at a fast enough rate, then we have to use tools to help us, manage these projects. And I think AI can be a great kind of assistant, AI agents to help you manage the schedule, manage the budget, manage materials, deliveries. I think it's kind of a virtual project engineer or project document controller or project scheduler. We can use all these kind of enabling tools. One of the things that's happened over the last few years has been a ton of different kind of point solutions around AI for the construction industry because they're pretty easy, to spin up, and you don't need a big team like you did back in the old days. And I think it's a real challenge for the industry to figure out which ones are going to work best for their companies and for the industry overall, and help, really help projects move forward. So,
Yeah, I mean, construction personnel isn't just the boots on the ground, right? It's a lot of background stuff. It's a lot of people in the office. It's a lot of, as you said, sort of the management side of things. Um, that shortage you mentioned is a real problem. I think, I don't know, maybe you even posted the stat. It's probably getting close to like a shortage of like 450,000 skilled trades folk that are going to be short even just this year from an estimate. Um, if AI is filling a lot of the gaps on the PM side, how does it help, or how can we get those positions filled for the actual labor side? You guys are doing some work with Propel People. Tell me a little more about how that came about and what you guys are doing specifically.
yeah, you're exactly right. There's about 450,000 people shortage in the construction industry, particularly around the kind of trades. And Propel People's mission is to help particularly small and medium-sized businesses recruit the right people and retain the right people. And we use AI to help reach those people and score resumes. And some people in the trades don't even have resumes, so we can help them develop a profile or a resume, and then we can help score that. Some of the customers I talk to in the trade say that some of the best people they get is like a text message. They end up being the best employees. So we have a way of doing text back and forth around the interview and around scheduling the interview and looking at people's profiles. We're doing some interesting things around Spanish because that's a lot of the construction industry speaks Spanish, and so also labor, the shortage is one problem, but it's actually causing big delays. Like 90% of firms say they have delays because they just don't have the people to do the projects. So yeah, it's one of the things that drew me to Propel People was just the labor productivity shortage issue is just it's a major issue for the construction industry.
Yeah, how did you find your way to them? Is that something that you helped spin up, or did you sort of come on board with those guys?
No, yeah, it's a I've been doing a little bit of venture capital over the last few years, and I work with Stage Capital, which is a small a venture capital fund that I'm a limited partner. I'm a very small limited partner in, and I met the guys from 1848 Venture Studio, which was really interesting. That and the construction tech experience was really interesting to me to do a little bit of venture capital and understand a new emerging model around venture studios, but also this great kind of um, application that solves a major problem for the construction industry around hiring skilled labor. So the two things were really, drove me to the opportunity.
And your previous roles, I think, what was it with Slate? And I'm sorry, I'm going to forget the other company before that. You were kind of on the revenue side of things there. Is that sort of the growth component is really your focus at Propel People as well? Or what did you learn from those early experiences to kind of get you to this spot too?
Yeah, I think I've always been on sort of the go-to-market, business development, sales, product kind of side, and I think that's been an important thing to kind of build these ventures and move those forward and have successful exits and all those things. And I think I've taken a lot of like I said, over 25 years of learning how projects manage, how different construction firms operate, what are their workflows, what are their processes, how's the industry segmented. I've learned a lot of just how projects operate and how companies operate and contractors. So I'm kind of looking at bringing that experience to Propel People.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting to me anyways. Like I'm coming from a blue collar family, and as I sort of, was the first to get through the educational system beyond high school and kind of fit my way into the white collar world, uh, it always seemed strange how the white collar world operated to my dad, who was a machinist and a firefighter, and it always seemed like a lot of fluff to get to the right result from the people side, anyways. Um, I feel like the construction industry has been that way for a long time. So it's interesting to me to hear you talk a little bit about how you're leveraging tech to kind of respond to the way that they do work and not necessarily the way that, corporate offices do work, right? You kind of land where the industry sits right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you take a typical project, you'll have a one GC. You may have 30 different kind of subcontractors. And I learned early in my career there's three things that kind of affect a project. One is the quality, the schedule, and the budget, and you're always kind of managing those three components. And you're doing that out in the field, and you're doing that back in the office. And how can we help kind of help with those kind of three things and have enabling technology help you do those things? And how do you for us Propel People is how do you get the right people on those teams to deliver those projects? I think it's I think I'm not sure about the white collar and blue collar. I think, the construction industry really pulls together that, general contractors depend on subs and, subs depend on their people. And I always looked at it as kind of, I've always enjoyed sports. I think every kind of project is a team and everybody has a different role. And how do you get this basically this business, multi-million-dollar business to operate for whether it's 24 months or 36 months? And how do you kind of get the collaboration? How do you get the people working together? And how can you add the technology to kind of make all those things easier?
Um, yeah, the whole team aspect, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I totally hear you on the, it's almost like both sides of the coin for construction businesses, right? You do have that management side, the in-office staff, and then you have the people out on the site that are, doing whatever trade it is that they're focused on, subs and general employees. Where's Propel People now? Like, how long have you guys been around? Where are you at right about now?
Yeah, we're kind of building the community, building the movement. We're very early. We're talking to as many kind of construction and subcontractors that we can. Talking to the HR recruiters or owners, and understanding what their processes are around recruiting people, interviewing people, and how do they find those people. And we're in our kind of seed round of funding. If that that's one measurement, and
Yep.
so we're really trying to build the product out and listen to our customers and get through kind of our seed phase right now.
Are you sticking to sort of the regional market right now, or are you kind of reaching out beyond that?
No, yeah, from a market perspective, we're very in 1848 Ventures is very focused around the SMBs, and so we think that those are very underserved in the construction industry, and 90% of the construction industry is SMB focused. And for Propel People, we think that HR and recruitment is really underserved. HR departments are stretched, and they need to have unique tools that kind of help them recruit the next generation of workers, and that's really our focus. So we think there's a big industry problem around productivity. It's even enhanced for SMB and for HR managers.
What's the growth plan for you guys? Are you just trying to like get it up and running and move it forward, or you got some specific ideas on where you want to be and what scale you're going to?
Yeah, I think it's very much focused around the subcontractors and the trades, and really understanding what each trade requirements are and how they do things, how they recruit people, how they retain people. So it's very much very much customer driven. And one of the things that I've seen in the construction industry is really hard is getting people to adopt technology. It's like, there's lots of solutions out there, but getting people in the field, the money boot guys that you were talking about, getting them to use tools, but also people in the offices to use tools. And they have such a wide selection of tools. I mean, back in the day, there were a handful of companies, and now there's, thousands of different kinds of solutions. So, and then once you pick a solution, how do you really do the change management, and how do you get people to adopt and use those products? And I think that's key. Like, you could be lots of good, awesome technology, but if you can't get the people to use it, then you're not going to make it there. So we're very focused around understanding our customers and helping them adopt the technology. And if we do those two things right, we'll kind of grow and scale from there.
Nice. All right, here's a goofy question, I guess. If knowing what you know about the industry, and obviously you've got a business in the ground already, but if you had a magic wand and you could pick one glaring problem in the in the construction industry that you could wave your wand and fix it, what would it be right now?
So I think, to not be self-serving, but I think labor and skilled labor, the gap there is a big thing to tackle. So I'm pretty happy that, if the Propel People has that opportunity in front of them. I really started back in collaboration, and I think there's just ways of us figuring out collaboration better across the industry. And I don't mean just like, shifting documents back and forth, but how does the contractor work with the concrete company to make sure that the delivery of their concrete is on time or not delayed because of rain? And if we delay the contract, then we get 4 or 5 guys waiting around. And how do we kind of do the sequencing, timing, collaboration around the project side? I think, lots of technology out there around those things, but I don't know if we've completely kind of solved the collaboration problem. That it's a collaboration industry. It's architect and developer to contractor to subcontractor, and operating the asset afterwards. It's the whole life cycle of a building around build, design, build, and operate. How do we kind of get more collaboration around those all those things, which is a really complex kind of across multi parties and multi processes, but I think we could still do a better job around some of the collaboration aspects.
That's I feel like you're spot on that one. I've been talking to a bunch of companies in different sectors of the space, and everybody talks about the data that they're sort of collecting is really driving the decision making and helping them understand how to solve some of the problems that are in front of them, and definitely making their solutions a lot better. But I continually see focus on their specific segment, and they're looking at the data for what their one component, whether they're energy management or whether they're IoT or whether they're life cycle predictive tech that can make sure that you understand when things are going to go out, whether it's management tech, ops tech, doesn't matter. But they're definitely like gathering and sort of focusing on the data specific to their one part Yet I feel like these buildings are big organic things that have a certain lifespan. And like people, it's the healthier you make it, the longer it's going to last, the more you take care of it, the longer it'll last. And it's important to get all these little pieces kind of nailed down. But I don't see a lot yet in taking a look at all of those components and figuring out how to make them all speak together and collaborate. And that's true for construction and for management.
Yeah, I think, if we could ever take all these point solutions that are out there, put that data into one place, and then you add an AI agent on top of that to, give you predictive insights around your project. Like you'll have, based on the data that we have, you're going to have a delay in 3 months because of the concrete pour, or, we're going to have a delay in the schedule because, we don't have the materials shipped in from, X part of the world. And so if we could kind of pull all these point solutions data and have AI kind of do inquiries into that data and give us insights, I think would be, a killer app. So
yeah, that sounds like a good one. Let's build that. Seems easy, right?
cool.
Stuff. Yeah, we'll just do a prompt. Yeah, the complications and the moving parts are just unbelievable. I mean, anyone that's been on site on a construction site and just watching what's happening on a day-to-day basis is you can't help but be in awe of all of the coordination that's happening, even without the perfect tools in place.
People been building buildings for a long time, and the pyramids, and they didn't have technology, and I think what I do think is interesting is people are doing bigger, better projects faster. Everyone talks about the productivity, lack of productivity in the construction industry, but I think that's kind of a false story because we're really trying to build projects pretty fast and much more complex kind of projects. I mean, if you look at people in data centers, one of the most popular kind of construction segments right now, and they're trying to build these really complex living buildings with lots of systems and MEP and all those kinds of things in 24 months. And those used to take they would take 4 or 5 years to build out those kind of projects, and they're really shrinking the kind of timelines to do that. So, and I think technology is helping to expedite and speed up those things, like a BIM model and some of the project management systems and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a meeting coming up with a digital twin company that's sort of implementing some predictive tech into management and even construction a little bit, and that'll be a super interesting conversation too. Yeah,
I wanted to mention was that I think the whole funding in venture capital world has changed. When I think back to my career, there were, there were a handful of venture capital companies, and companies wanted the big goal of going public and all those kinds of things. And 27 years on, now we have a lot more kind of venture capital companies. We have venture capital companies focused on property tech, and we focus on construction tech, and you see big players in the construction industry setting up their own venture capital funds. So Suffolk is a great example here in Boston, where they're pretty innovative, and they do incubators, and they have a venture capital fund, and they have a whole innovation team to evaluate and adopt technology. And so I think we've seen a big change in how funding's happened to a lot of startups with the change in kind of the venture capital fund.
Yeah, I think Turner just launched a fund as well, right?
Yeah, and Cimex, which is one of the largest kind of material companies in the construction industry, has had a healthy VC fund. And
do you see the REITs getting involved in sort of building and owning some of the companies that help build the properties that they're engaged with owning and operating? I guess their financial model certainly could handle it.
Yeah, I think the REITs and I think the real estate service providers were definitely doing venture investments, but also will set up venture funds. And if you're going to be an early adopter technology and you're going to use it, then you might as well get the upside of both paying for it, but also potentially having equity in a product that you see works and is successful. And it's attractive to a lot of these businesses to set up kind of VC funds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like anything, I think, the market is becoming a lot more sophisticated as it's dialed into, not only construction, but also just the commercial real estate space. It's been pretty wild to be involved in it for, I won't mention how long I've been involved in it, probably longer than you. And it's crazy. Like our generation of folks, we Gen Xers are fortunate and unfortunate to be starting in a space where there was no tech for the most part, and sort of now being quote pioneers in this tech space and trying to understand it and sort of shepherding the next generation into using it and helping them understand why it came about. I think these kinds of conversations are fun and they're good for that. If you had some parting wisdom, what would it be for all the thousands and thousands of folks who are going to watch this?
Yeah, I want to reach out to this huge audience out here, and I think one of the things I wanted to talk about too was just I think that we have a new generation coming in. The baby boomers are selling their businesses and they're moving on retiring. So I think there's a big opportunity for tech-enabled businesses, all kinds of tech-enabled businesses, but for us, particularly around SMB. So I think you'll see younger people move into managing these trade contractors and we'll be adopting technology faster, and we'll really have, technology-enabled subcontractors. And I think we have that at the kind of contractor level, and I think we'll see that in the subcontractor level. I would go back to maybe something we talked about earlier in terms of advice is really focus on adoption. How do we get people to use the tech? You can worry about the pricing and the marketing, but let's get people really getting productivity from the technology that we're building. And then I think the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. So really focus on the end user and their job and how they kind of use tech and solve some problems. And if you solve those problems, then I think the rest of it falls in place. So.
Yeah, call it market fit. It's a key component for sure. Yeah.
But deeper than that, like, really how the people, like you said, all the coordination on a project and, how does the MEP person in the field have a sensor and how do they check the, work in progress and those things? I mean, how do we really get the guys in the field and in the office kind of really using this to add value?
Nice. Well, Dex, that was fun. Thank you.
It's great.
I appreciate
Thanks
your
so much.
time. Yeah, this is a good conversation. I like it. We'll have to continue it over a pint or two.
Let's a really good idea.
So another episode of Plus Partners in the books. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Dex, for coming on, and wish you the best of luck.
Thanks so much. It was great to chat. Thanks so much.